Okay, so we've got another CALMtown clock in, making sure we're checking up on each other, hearing about what folks are up to in this really strange time of lockdown. I'm really excited to be interviewing this next person, clocking in with them, hearing what they've got to say. So without further ado, what's your name, who are you, and where are you right now?
Hi Matt, I'm Simon, a police officer. I live in St Ives. I happen to work in Norfolk and Suffolk, but sitting at home at the moment.
So lockdown is this funny time for us as a nation, as a community, as families, as individuals. But there are one or two highlights starting to appear. So before we think about perhaps some of the other things that are a bit of a struggle, what's your lockdown highlight been?
Well, if I may, Matt, let me just explain exactly what I'm doing, because I'm not doing what you would expect the police officers that you're seeing up and down the streets, desperately trying to kind of keep us all safe. I'm a deputy chief constable, and I'm working across Norfolk and Suffolk. And my role at the moment for both Norfolk and Suffolk is the overall police commander. We in police would call that the gold commander. So I set the strategy and the direction. I'm responsible for and accountable for everything that the police are doing. And of course, what we're trying to do is support all those other agencies that are at the very much sharper end, although we've got lots to be getting on with to keep us all safe, really, and to ensure that the health service and others have got the ability to do what they need to do to kind of keep us effectively alive in some cases. But your question, what's my kind of highlight so far? Well, from my perspective as the kind of police commander, my highlight really is around what my officers and staff are doing. They've stepped up, they've quickly adapted, they've got on with it. They have to, because unfortunately, Matt, crime still happening in parts. We're still dealing with things on the roads, with crashes on the roads and the like. And we're putting our officers and staff into situations where there's now an additional layer of risk, and we're calling that risk COVID, or the infection of COVID-19. And of course, what they're thinking about is not only their own safety, but what they're bringing into their own homes, exposing their own children. And a number of my officers and staff have got caring responsibilities as well. So highlight for me, I've got two or three, but kind of key highlight is the way that kind of my organisations have responded very, very quickly. Just got on with it, as we generally do. I'm also really impressed, actually, with the wider public. I may mention as we chat some of the slightly more awkward things that we the police have to deal with. But on the whole, the public, as you can imagine, have responded to this really, really well. They are socially isolating and making our job that little bit easier.
I know nothing about policing and routines and things like that, but what's your lockdown routine?
We're adhering to, best we can, the guidance like everyone else, which is all about social distancing, which is if you don't have to travel, not to travel. And so for me, personally, that's kind of a combination of a little bit more working from home, using technology to help us. And so I chair meetings with 50 or 60 people on a Skype call, which is always kind of interesting and slightly challenging. So a little bit more working from home, but also I am coming into work, but again, using the same rules as everyone else to be socially distancing from my officers, because actually I'm asking them to come into work, the early turn, the late turn and the night turn, and we're still having to provide quite properly a service to the public, because we're still getting, as you'd imagine, lots and lots and lots of calls for all sorts of different things, and that kind of what I'd call demand is slightly changing, and we're getting a lot more of the COVID-19 sorts of calls and COVID-19 sorts of risks, going out where appropriate and carefully visiting people, listening to their concerns, their challenges, and just kind of balancing the need to still lead, the need to still direct, but at the same time not getting too close and being in people's way.
Yeah, fantastic. So you've answered the next question a little bit. Like, how has your job been? What's it been like in lockdown? Has it been more stressful? Has it been just different?
Well, whenever you take, I mean, clearly in my normal day job, Matt, you're exposed to command, or you're exposed to leading, or exposed to making lots of decisions. But a lot of that is in the kind of more mundane, or more in the more business as usual, and making decisions around where the organisation is going to go in the medium to long term. When we take on a crisis or a major incident like this, it becomes very much more command and control. So my job is now very much more directing. So I'm more directive around certain process and certain procedures. That's not to say, of course, continually have to balance that with empowering our officers and staff to make the right decisions at the right time, dealing with what they've got in front of them. But the kind of the big challenges that I've got, as you'd expect, is we as a body of men and women, policing in Norfolk and Suffolk, are challenged by the same issues around the need, so if members of my staff have got it or showing symptoms, well, they need to isolate like the rest of us for 14 days. If members of their family have got the symptoms, they're isolating for 14 days. So it's a continual battle to ensure that we get enough people into work. Again, the officers and staff have been fantastic. They've just stepped up and just done what they've needed to do. One of the other key challenges, a bit like others, be it in health or in social care, real challenge around making sure that we're getting the right personal protective equipment, PPE. So you'll hear that across the news, everyone talking about PPE, this, and of course we need PPE as well. So we've been really stressed around making sure that we get enough of the kit of the right quality to the right people at the right time. So a lot of my week, certainly the week just gone, has been in that kind of area, trying to make sure that we're getting, I have confidence in our supply line so that I can ensure that the guidance coming out nationally can be adhered to. And the bottom line really is keeping people safe, keeping them safe to do what we collectively, the public, need them to do.
Yeah, and I mean, I speak personally, and I'm sure for many other people in the town, that we're so grateful for what the police are doing right now. How are police people feeling? Like the men and women that are actually in the cars driving around, the folks that are responding, are folks feeling positive or stressed? What
kind of a relatively famous comment from the beginning of policing, actually. Yeah. When Robert Peel set us up, he kind of said, the police are the people and the people are the police. So all the issues that we're all feeling, that we're in a period that's really unsettling. We're all worrying about be it our elderly relatives or those that are vulnerable or our children. So we're all feeling the same sorts of things. We're all thinking about what are we exposing ourselves to that we might be bringing back into our homes. And again, it's interesting to listen to some of the routines that the colleagues are, and I'm the same, are doing when we're out and about, and particularly they're more so than me, but they're kind of what they're calling their decontamination routines. I heard a colleague only last week saying his first thing is he goes into his garage at home, he gets undressed in the garage so that his clothes, his uniform can go straight in the wash. He grabs a towel straight into the shower, completely washes himself, before he goes and sees his children. So he's not bringing that back into that. So we've got that going on, and I think that's it's an unusual risk in that most of the risks that police face are dealt with and are contained within the working environment. So if you're dealing with somebody who wants to hurt you or threaten you or whatever, you deal with that and that's all contained and closed, and then you walk away from it. You don't bring it back into the home. So I think we collectively are dealing with that. So we're doing lots of things around helping people through all of that. But to the point in terms of where the public are, I think we're getting lots of support. Now there's some stuff as people will read in their papers around the balance that policing needs to find between over enforcement against letting people clearly get a little bit of exercise or going to the shops or whatever else. It's just about that balance, and we always need, and I'm sure colleagues, people who watch this will have seen other senior colleagues on the TV talking about, we police by consent, and we continue to do so. It's unusual. We've never been in this place before where we're asking people to account for what they're doing on the streets. We deal with normally criminal law, and so this is slightly different. And the officers and staff have adapted, as I say, really very, very quickly.
Yeah, I'm just so grateful to see police out and about. It does make us feel calm, and that it's easy to believe the stories that are in the press about police being too heavy or whatever. But
well, and that's one of the things we're saying, or certainly I'm saying, is that we are one of those pillars of stability. So we do need to be seen. We need to be engaging with people and remind people that there is some normality out there, and we're part of that part of that approach, really.
Yeah, fantastic. And so just moving on to the next question, we're all human beings, and like you just tell a story of a policeman that's making sure he doesn't take contamination into his home by getting undressed in the garage. We're all human beings with stories to tell in this, not just the badges we wear. So what's been your lockdown teary moment, or moment where you thought, oh goodness me?
an interesting one, because again, I think we as police kind of generally isolate ourselves from the emotion of most things, not least because of the very nature of what we do. But the bit that I find quite challenging is I'm clearly exposed to the numbers of people that are going through hospitals and dying, and you can't help but think that they're somebody's relative, and they've kind of been on their own potentially as they've passed, which is really, really sad. You know, we're also, I suppose, not necessarily teary, but it's that concern of others in the system, other public agencies that are desperately trying to do their very best. So, of course, our focus has to be around those that are dealing with the acute end through the national health, but we've got lots and lots of colleagues in the social care sector that are desperately trying, and they are as well looking for an interest at securing or sourcing their own PPE and making sure that we all collectively use what we've got to best effect. And although it's not a teary moment, it's those that I kind of ponder regularly to make sure that we're doing our bit. We, the police, are doing our bit, but we're one cog in this wider machine of public service. So I don't know if it's a teary moment, Matt, but it certainly is one that I mull over and make sure that we're doing our bit, but we're also supporting and helping everyone else trying to do their bit.
Yeah, that's good to hear. We need folks that can just step back and feel the emotion of it, but not perhaps get overwhelmed by it. So grateful that there's folks like you handling all of those stories and statistics that we hear so many of at the minute. So this will be over soon, thanks to folks like you and your colleagues that you're directing to make sure that we get out of lockdown as soon as possible. What will be the first thing that you do once all of this is over?
Well, I'll give you some personals, I think.
Yeah.
Like I suspect most of us, one of the first things I will want to do is go and visit my parents, who are in that 12-week shielding, complete isolation. So, of course, using technology, we Zoom in and talk to them and whatever else, but it's not the same. So it'll be great to see, because we'll have missed birthdays and that sort of thing. So that's one of the first things I'm going to do. And the other kind of very selfish thing is I can't wait to get back into the gym. I cannot wait. Okay. I'm running, like I suspect I'm seeing lots of people out running around out and about. So I'm going for runs daily, but it's not quite the same. I like a kind of a mixture of things, and I enjoy lifting my weights, and I can't do that with the gyms being closed.
Right. Okay. So you'll be amongst all those other gym folk that will be right in there. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's been great to talk to you, Simon. Really grateful for your time at this at what is a really busy, unusual, unprecedented time for you in your role of leadership right now. But is there anything that you'd like to say to folks before we close off this?
Thank you for the opportunity, Matt. Of course, and without sounding too cliched, but please just follow the guidance. You know, we're all in this together in a way that it's almost unprecedented. And what I'd say to each and every one of us is, do your bit. And what I mean by that is, you know, keep away from others, follow the guidance. Kind of, we know that our NHS throughout the kind of coming peak will be under enormous pressures. And actually, we've all got each of us can do something, and that something is, you know, don't go out unless you really have to. You know, follow the guidance. Don't invite people round because actually for a garden party or you know, or a house party, or do things that actually potentially spread that risk. And it might seem very, very minute or very inconsequential, but when you add all that together collectively, it has an impact. And that impact, if we can do whatever we can do to help others and give the NHS the opportunity to really, really care for those that really need it, well then surely we owe it to the NHS and those individuals. So that's what I'd be saying.
Fantastic. Simon, it's been so great to talk to you. So grateful for what you're doing, what your colleagues are doing, and we hope you stay safe and your loved ones stay safe. So thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Right.
Bye-bye.
See you again, maybe.
Bye-bye.
Bye.